What's up, trash talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
Here is a firm believer in all men are created equal, but not all men live equal. That is why there's a certain select number of people in the DoD who decided to jump out of airplanes. And yes, we are better than you. 100%. Now, don't be the first triggered pansy to say, well, airborne's not relevant. You haven't jumped since World War II. Well, that's not accurate, for one. And two, it's like having a jalopy or a 68 Mustang. Well, a 68 Mustang's no longer relevant. Doesn't matter. It's still a better car than yours. So take it easy this National Airborne Day and just accept that we are better than you.
So, two things for today's Honesty Cat. First thing, how do all my boys from the 101st feel knowing that the Army decided that instead of actually making you airborne, they would just create a whole new division that's airborne because you just aren't cutting it? It sucks. Thing number two, for all the folks who were like, oh, airborne is irrelevant, doesn't even matter. They're making a whole new division of just airborne people because they're relevant. Think about that. How's that feel? Does it hurt a little bit? I hope it hurts a little bit.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, trash talkers? What is up, Gruntworks Nation? Welcome to season 2, episode 7 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guests today are retired SEAC, Sergeant Major Troxel, the Angry Colonel, and Air Force veteran Ram and Jeff. What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, man. I don't know how we're on season 2 when we've been doing this for 3 years, but I mean, I'll just run with it.
We did it for Chris. We did it for Chris because he was getting angry, you know?
Yeah. I'm excited to have all these guys on today. It's going to be a super fun show, and I guess we'll be nice. We'll get into it later. We'll talk about the Air Force, right? We never really do because they just waste all of our taxpayers' money on planes that don't work. You know, so yeah, it just is what it is. They want to get rid of the only plane that does work. That's the A-10.
Our Air Force guy, Ram, is wearing a nice shirt, though, so you can get that at shop.veterantrashtalk.com. Aim high. Yep.
The Army Air Corps right there, baby.
There we go. There we go.
Ram actually designed that shirt. We were doing suicide prevention training for the National Guard out in Nebraska, and they had a paper airplane outside of it. I was like, bro. He's like, we got to make a shirt with the Air Force with that. It's like, perfect.
Yeah.
And we've sold a couple of those. Yeah. That's like our only Air Force shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one we got. We got the spooky season.
Yeah, I got spooky.
We do. We got the spooky, yeah.
A great Halloween shirt. You know, it's spooky. It's Spectre gunship, and it's all in Halloween.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Veterans are all broke. They can't buy shirts. We just save that for the...
We sell them for dirt cheap, too. Like, we got to, you know... I mean, we don't really make much on a shirt anyway.
No, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. All right, what we got going on today? Everybody's nervous.
Well, we got a whole group here. I didn't. I didn't pick a conspiracy for today since we do have John Wayne Troxel on, who's got like a lot of experience in the military and things of that nature. And I kind of wanted to talk about because we catch a lot of heat, especially for the shirt that I'm wearing. It says "fuck Hamas," and we see it all the time on our Facebook page, on TikTok, and everything. We're kind of split in the middle here, right? There's a lot of stuff going on at college campuses where everybody's like, free Palestine, all this good stuff. So I kind of wanted just to throw out the question to everybody who's here and kind of like get an honest opinion and what everybody's thoughts are. Is Israel going too far? Are they doing too much? All these deaths and all that stuff. I mean, I don't even know what to believe anymore in the media, but kind of wanted to get Sergeant Major, retired SEAC, John Wayne Troxel's opinion on this. Should they slow down? Like, what's everybody's thoughts, period, on the whole Israel situation? And yeah, we'll go from there.
Well, I think the country of Israel, its citizens, and its military, I mean, they all take their guidance from Bibi. And Bibi has said that, Gaza is going to be a parking lot and we're not going to stop until Hamas is dead. Whether that's right or wrong, whatever, that's what the country of Israel is doing. And when you look at October 7th of last year and that heinous attack, that had, 1,200 Israelis killed, and the largest attack on the country of Israel and the largest kind of death since the Holocaust, they're not going to stop. And if you look at recently with the pagers and the walkie-talkies, when we talk about 20 years of global war on terrorism, what we were doing in terms of defeating devices, attacking terrorist networks, and continuing to train our force, this is the evolution of it for Israel right now. And then the byproduct of what Israel is doing, again, I'm all against civilian casualties. We all know that. We try to prevent civilian casualties in conflict all the time, but we know the tactics that Hamas uses is the same as Hezbollah, same as ISIS, same as these other terror organizations. And if you look since October 7th, we've had over 200 attacks on our troops in Syria, Iraq, and Jordan, which included on January 28th an attack that had 3 Army reservists killed. So what I think is going to continue to happen is Israel is going to continue to take the fight to Hamas until they eliminate them. Unfortunately, that's going to come with some civilian casualties. Now, we know Hamas and Hezbollah are complicit in using human shields and other things like that, but I think that's what's going to go. For me, what I think we as the United States need to do is take a more stronger stance to the attacks that are happening on our troops, not just in the 3 countries I mentioned, but in places like the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, where we constantly have ships going through from the Suez Canal out to the Arabian Gulf and everything. I don't believe that the response we gave after January 28th was enough to tell Iran and its proxies they need to settle down. We need to bloody their nose. And Israel definitely is going to continue to bloody Iran and their proxies' noses. So I think that's what's going to continue to happen, and the Israelis are not going to quit.
Yeah. I think that's a great take. And what you brought up, like, people don't realize the sheer size of Israel, and like what happened on October 7th was like in comparison to like our 9/11. Like, people don't understand that how extreme that was. And then all the rockets always getting fired at Israel. Like, let's just say Mexico shot a rocket at us. Like, what, the US would go in there. I mean, look at Afghanistan, 20-year war. So like, I'm all for Israel. I'm all for everything that they're doing. I don't understand the college campuses with these groups that are like Free Palestine that have like no clue what the fuck is actually going on over there. Same people like that elected Hamas. Like, if you look at some statistics, like 70 to 80% of the individuals over there elected Hamas and put them in power. So that's a problem in itself. And these are the same people that were saying, fuck you, America, and we're cheering and chanting like when 9/11 and things of that nature happened. So yeah, it's a tricky one, but a lot of people aren't educated on that topic.
All I gotta say is gays for Palestine, man. I'm
that's
just
the thing,
glad
though. Nick,
they got
that's
the
the thing.
support. I know they got the support, man. Like I really do find I'm happy that the LGBTQW17 QRF freaking community, like They have a place.
They would literally get thrown off of a roof over there.
No, don't tell them that.
It's
Don't
just,
tell them that.
yeah.
Well, that was what was happening at the cement factory in Syria before we ended up, giving ISIS the lasting defeat. ISIS was taking gays up on top of that roof of the cement factory and was launching them off of there. And
it's literally in the Quran to do that.
Yeah.
So
But the other thing, David, you talked about was what's going on these college campuses and these quads with these kids in these green tents and everything. And genuinely, these kids have no idea what they are protesting for. When I see a kid with a Jordanian keffiyeh on saying, I am supporting Palestine, it tells me you have no fucking clue what the hell you are protesting against. And, I spoke at a university in December of last year when there was a pro-Palestine protest going on. And I had a conversation with some of these folks, and I thought, where do the parents of these 20 and 21-year-old kids, where do they support them with going out and doing this radical stuff and living in a quad instead of going out and doing something great with their life? But unfortunately, it's the nation we live in now, and that is kind of the in thing to do now is whenever we think something is wrong, and in this case, that those tens of thousands of Palestinian citizens are being killed, that my number one job is to go and sit in a quad and protest it, But those of us that have been in armed conflict and those of us that have been at war, none of this is a surprise to us at what's going on in Israel and how the proxies are responding and everything. All of us have been witness and, have had these kind of attacks on us in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places. But we are the small majority in the nation. The vast majority of the people don't know about that. And they don't know that the more we support Iran and its proxies and things like that, it's going to empower them to do even more crazy shit, like potentially
It's a thing too.
try to bring a terrorist attack to North America and the United States, or empower one of these folks to, carry out an attack here. So,
and that's a great point because they've been attacked constantly. Israel is attacked constantly, and eventually they're just over it, and now they're because if they don't do anything, then they'll just continue. This is a message of saying, hey, we're done. Fuck around and find out. We're doing what we need to do now, and that's exactly what's occurring. So
and if I could
good
finish
take.
off here, and then I'm going to shut up for a bit. But for the last 3.5 years, we have had this foreign policy of deterrence through appeasement, where we will give the Iranians money. We will try to support potential adversaries with money and stuff like this for them to not do their terrorist act or their heinous acts that they do. And all it does is empower them to find more exotic ways to kill innocent people, but more importantly, to continue to attack us and our partners and allies. We have to have peace through strength. And I will tell you, when I was the SEAC and Trump was the president, and he saw how the Russians and the Syrian regime were using these barrel bombs with chlorine weapons on them on innocent Syrians, and he saw these Syrian babies suffocating to death from these weapons, he told Secretary Mattis, do something. And we put 59 Tomahawk missiles on Russian and Syrian regime infrastructure that where these barrel bombs and helicopters were. And guess what? No more barrel bombs after that.
Nope.
Imagine
Weird.
that,
Shocking.
that you get peace by exhibiting strength. Okay. Anyway,
Rob,
I'm gonna stop now, okay?
Let's go with the angry colonel. What do you got?
All right, gentlemen. I've been absent for a while, but So 2 points. The first point of it is I think all these people that want to be activists, there's a great organization that does international interventions. It's called the United States Military. Take your ass down to a recruiting station and sign up. The numbers are low, right? We know this. So if you are that dead set on making an impact in the Middle East, pack your shit, walk to your recruiting station, put your name on a dotted line, and donate the rest of your youth to the United States government. The second part of it is you guys know me, and I always say follow the money. And to pile on to what Sergeant Major said, is that's where it's all coming from. You gave these guys money, And like, what do you do when you give stupid people money? You give stupid people money, they do stupid things. We've all been to Iraq and Afghanistan. We've all been to K-leader engagements. What do they have in their offices? They don't have pictures of doves and flowers and things that are peaceful. They have tanks and BIMPs and RPGs. So the only thing that they understand is the force of arms. So if you want to convince them to stop fighting you, you've got to convince. Yeah, I'm all about hearts and minds. And anybody that served with me knows this. I want to put that guy's heart on the other guy's mind. So I'm going to pop you in your chest. And when that blood splatter hits your face, you're going to change your mind, because it's like, I absolutely don't want to deal with those dudes because they're going to put me under the ground. And I mean, that's what it boils down to is we have a nation of privilege, and the privilege is to talk all that shit at a university campus and not do anything about it. But if they truly want to be an activist, go sign up, do a tour. And then you will truly understand the nature of what you're trying to fight through your presence in a courtyard. You can actually, there's some courtyards in Syria that probably need somebody to guard them. So I am all for you packing your shit and going. So I would much rather have, and I would much rather fight them over there than have to fight them here. And, we have to secure our border. And there's a lot of really poor decisions that are being made just for the simple fact of, like, look, you didn't have a conspiracy today, Dave. I'll give you a conspiracy. And the conspiracy is simply this. If you look at Minnesota now has a representative that came from Somalia. Why? Because during the Obama administration, they flooded Minnesota with TPS people, temporary protective status folks that went to Minnesota. And now they have a Somali representative there. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's how it went down.
Your brother.
But guess what they're doing now? Right? They're doing it in other parts of the country. We have Venezuelan crime gangs taking over freaking buildings, right? But the other part of it is look at Springfield, Ohio. Ohio is usually purple, sometimes red. Well, let's flood the zone with a bunch of Haitian refugees. And I guarantee you within 5 to 7 years, there's going to be a Haitian representative in the House of Representatives in that region of the country. And that's by design. So if you legitimately think that they have your best interest in mind, like, I want some of the stuff that you're smoking, and now that I'm no longer in uniform, I can smoke it too.
There you go.
Love it.
Now, what do the Air Force guys think? We got Jeff.
Well, first off, the college kids and the cause celeb that they have, a lot of these kids have nothing in their lives but being told that they're smart, they need to go to college. When they go to college, they get co-opted by these causes, and they're all looking for something to glom onto to belong to something. And having taught ROTC at the University of Texas for 3 years and then fleeted up as the region commander, I dealt with a lot of college kids. And whether you're people of faith or not, if you don't have faith in your life, you're going to replace it with something else. And in this case, I think this cause of fighting terror or supporting terrorist groups in opposition to your own country is strange. But if you don't have something in your life, this kind of replaces that. And I think that's part of what's going on here.
Very nice. Yep. I agree with that too. Where you're going to have an agreement in your life, and you can bash faith, religion all you want, but you're faithful to something else, right? You put all your stones in something, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter if it's a imaginary figure or if it's alcohol.
If you don't have faith, you're going to have fear. Without faith, you have fear. And when you live in fear, El Kukui, the boogeyman, is under your bed every night. So you got to go out and in some way, because you're fearful, live in a tent in the middle of a quad in a college campus to say, okay, I'm doing the right thing.
Ram, what you got?
Hey, same thing, right? Talking about people not being deployed, right? Someone said we have no troops deployed anywhere, right? No one is deployed anywhere right now in a foreign country at war, but yet we have people getting killed, right?
What a great statement that was.
Getting killed, right? So it all boils down to this, right? We're funding this shit, and it's not fucking going out right, man. So whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah, the attacks continue to happen, whether it's in Israel or it's freaking Iraq or Syria. So it's happening, man, and it's not going to stop. And going back to what Jeff said, right? these young kids, they don't have a purpose, man. They have no purpose right now. Their purpose is what? They don't see anything. They don't see it. Hey, let me grab onto the next niche and let me try to get likes. And when I was at Colorado Springs for a SpaceCom convention, no kidding, we had dudes I was standing right next to. I saw that they were coming up. They were all, free Palestine, to the river, to whatever. Yeah, cool. Talking to the guy, I was like, hey, have you been there before? Do you know what's going on? What are you talking about, man? Do you know what's going on? You don't look very Palestinian to me. You look very Anglo, but my radar may be off. I'm a little Air Force guy. I haven't seen a lot of people before, but yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well. And I'll segue this into John's segue to his part for where he's going to talk about his awesome YouTube podcast that he's got going on right now. One of them is going pretty viral. And we talked about a pre-show with virtue signaling, and we see it all the time, especially on a social media platform. Now, the reason we don't allow politics on Veteran Trash Talk is because of that exact purpose, is the virtue signaling. The conversation goes nowhere, and people just have a bunch of points that are very empty, right? That they think they know what they're talking about, but will do nothing to do anything about it. And so that's kind of where I leave it at. That is where these kids all say they support this, and then we already Colonel brought it up, like, hey, pack your shit and go over there and do something. Yeah. All right, otherwise shut the hell up, right? Just like we even take it one step further with suicide prevention, to where it's like 22 push-ups a day are great, but go do something about it. Actually, right? Like stop talking about all these bad things that you're just going to sit there and watch them happen. That's apathy, right? It's just something that freedom. What I was going to say to all your guys' points is freedom does two things wrong, right? It allows stupid people and it allows crime, right? But that's freedom. We have at least with freedom and freedom of speech, I can be like, okay, that guy's a moron. I'm not gonna listen to anything he has to say. But anyways, I am excited to have the retired SEAC. The first time he came on the show, we were all still active duty, and I had a shirt on that said, "What's a SEAC?" Yeah, and I was like, there's like 4 master sergeants on the show, and we're like, what the fuck's a SEAC? We don't even know what it is. But no, he's been doing phenomenal, great things, and he just did a show on Leader Talk. You go on YouTube. I think we are following it as well. So if you go to our YouTube page, we're on there as well. Leader Talk. And he talked about stolen valor, and that was what I was pretty interested in, because at what point do we sit back and take it, and at what point do we say, okay, that's enough, right? So go ahead. What you got going on?
Yeah. So this, again, Nick, I don't do the politics thing. I try to stay out because, as you just described, it goes nowhere. People are, especially if they're far left or far right, they're going to argue and everything, and it gets nothing accomplished. But even though I've been retired for 4 years, I care about the institution known as the United States military. And when I see something, that's why I started my podcast, my show, my YouTube show, Leader Talk, about 6-7 months ago, because I wanted to discuss the critical issues in a no BS kind of way that didn't have politics in it. And so, the guy from Minnesota that is, a candidate for vice president, I was asked to come and talk to some leaders out of the Minnesota Guard, and then I've been on a couple of spaces on Twitter, and I've done some podcasts and everything, and I'm all about defending the institution. And when you look at someone that has made a commitment to be a command sergeant major and enroll into the non-resident U.S. Army Sergeant Major Academy Sergeant Major course, they made a commitment that I'm going to continue to serve. And then when there's some action that happens that is, kind of counter to the professional way we do business in the institution, and all of a sudden he's retiring and everything, and he retires as a master sergeant. He was only a command sergeant major for 45 days, retires as a master sergeant, and disenrolls from the sergeant major course and goes on and retires and runs politics. God bless him. I appreciate his 24 years of service. to our nation, and that he is a fellow veteran like all of us. But what I take issue with is that for 20 years, he claimed to be a retired command sergeant major when he was not. He is a retired master sergeant. And I talk on this last show, I showed my ID card, which says retired SEAC on it, okay? And I said, he has to do is show his ID card. If it says retired master sergeant, then be proud that you served 24 years in the National Guard and you're retired master sergeant. If it says CSM on it, then you are exhibiting and executing stolen valor because you are saying something that you are not. And when I saw an interview he did where he was asked, what is your combat experience? This wasn't AI. This wasn't some crop video. Said, what is your combat experience? His answer was, I deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. To the layperson or to any of us, what would that mean? He was in Afghanistan. Okay, yeah. He was not in Afghanistan. He was in Vicenza, Italy, pulling guard on the Caserne there while the 173rd was deployed in combat. How hard is it to say, okay, you asked me a question if I have combat experience? I do not have combat experience. However, I did deploy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom to Vicenza, Italy. And then after that, I'd say, God bless you, brother. You did your job and everything, But he always used these kind of, this gray area to show that he is something that he is not, And so I take issue with that. Politics aside, for at least 45 days, he was a command sergeant major like I was for 20 years. Okay. But, and I take issue with that because he at one time represented the same thing that I did. And he's a veteran like all of us. So that was what, and then the backlash I got from everybody on the far left that thought I was calling him out because I'm a MAGA guy and all this other stuff. And I said, I got sick of explaining myself that I care about the professionalism of the United States Army and the United States military overall. And so I decided to do that show and talk about what stolen valor is. And I don't know why leaders can't be just proud of who they are and what they are. Somebody asked me, what's the definition of a combat veteran? And Troxel's definition is they have accepted that they are going to go forward into a hostile combat zone and they are going to accept the risk of death. Now, obviously, for maneuver, fire, and effects guys and stuff like that, the risk of death goes up a little bit than combat support and combat service support. But because those CS and CSS people still said, I will accept that risk and go into combat, they're a combat veteran, all right? Not somebody that went to Italy and drank wine and pulled security on the Caserne there because the 173rd wasn't there. So anyways, that's why I did that show. But I not only talk about that, the southern border is another key issue with me. The colonel brought that up. And, best example I can give these kids in these quads is, I went to the southern border in El Paso, and I went down with our Customs and Border Patrol and our Border Patrol agents and our National Guardsmen down there because I wanted to see firsthand, is it as bad as they said it was? And it is as bad as the media says it is. And when I asked those Border Patrol agents, what do you need more of? Do you need more DOD support here? Do you need more resources, agents, funding? What do you need? They said, we need consequences. The border policies are what is causing them to not be able to accomplish their mission and why we have in the last 4 years, millions of illegal aliens running around in the country. So that's what my show is all about, going after these tough issues and having a common sense discussion about it. And I even have one episode on there that's all about common sense because I think in our world today, common sense is more uncommon than it's ever been. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, well said. That's kind of like, and then, hey, I put everybody who's watching on YouTube, or maybe Chris can do this. I put the comment on Veteran Trash Talk to the show that John's referencing in his YouTube channel. So go subscribe to it, watch the show. It's really awesome. Chris, if you could copy that somehow and put it, on all the platforms, that would be great. As you can see, I was having like a button aneurysms, putting everything on the thing, trying to do it myself. But that's what we got the nerd Marine for. Perfect. He just did it.
There we go. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and then I was getting a phone call from an old Legacy Ranger, Taft Yates. He jumped into Granada. So Jeff, who did you jump in with?
I was with Second Bat. Colonel Ralph Hagler was the commander. Sergeant Major was Sergeant Major Voyle. So I was the TAC P attached to them. I actually had 2 tours with them in the early 80s, 80 to 82, and then 83 to 84 before I went to Panama for 4 years.
Yeah, he said, "Hey, I just showed up because I got word that there's another Granada Raider on here. My Ranger brother Jerry Shorma." So yeah, Taft, we got we got one of your battle buddies up here, so that's pretty cool to connect you guys again. Yeah, the stolen valor thing. To one of your things you said, John, was like, at what point are you just happy with what you did? And then you start to
unmute, right?
Like,
okay.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we didn't unmute you, Jeff. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I think you're muted again.
Yeah, I'm in control of it. Sorry, cameraman here.
Okay. But all right, yeah. Yeah. With that, it's that the tale is like you start to tell a lie so much that you start to believe it.
100%.
And he's not understanding that you're going to run for vice president. You got to know this is coming out, right? You got to know the veteran community. We're minorities. Just like Taft will let me know when somebody who claims they're a Ranger back guy will be like, that guy's not a Ranger regiment guy, and I'm like, oh, really? Like, yeah, that's no. So I was like, okay, we're going to find out who you are. And then my favorite stolen valor story of all time was when Hoot was on the show, right? And
that was a good story.
Norman Hooten's on the show, and I'm sitting here like, hey, I was like, I used to tell your war stories in bars when I was drunk, just for fun.
Myrtle Beach.
I was in Black Hawk Down, and I was that guy that killing everybody with my bare hands. It's like, well, now I got you on the show, so like, to let you know that I stole your stories to try to make myself look cool as a joke. And I go, but did you ever have like a stolen valor thing with yourself? He was like, yeah. He's like, I was contracting in Kuwait, and there was a guy shooting his mouth off to one of the other instructors about how he was in chalk like 3, that went down. And this guy has no fucking clue that Hoot's in the other room. they bring Hoot around the corner. It's like, why are you even making that up? Like, why are you even saying that to a bunch of people? Like, who are you trying to impress? Yeah, I don't get it. And it's
next level though.
Yeah. It's like, it's that thing with, we got to put a stop to it because we do have to, keep the integrity of what we've done, what our battle buddies have done.
Well, it's just like I served the Rangers twice, right? I never went to Ranger school. Proud of the tab or proud of the scroll, but never would wear the tab. In fact, I got the second Ranger scroll on my leg, tattooed by my son, but I do not ever wear anything that has a tab on it.
Yeah. Again, just probably, because our brains work, more with the 5th principle patrolling than most, where it's like, I'm just not gonna say that. Like I wasn't there. Like, if I wasn't there, I'm like, hey, I wasn't there, but I can maybe ask Dave who was, right? Like, and so if like a family member asks me, hey, what do the Rangers do? Well, let me call up Taft and find out, because I was in the 82nd. Like, what do you want from me? It's like, it just is what it is. Yeah. What do you guys got? What do you guys got on the stolen valor piece?
Oh, geez. I don't know. So I do have a couple points. So for me, I'm one of those guys, particularly like on the O side, it's very, very easy. Like if I see an officer that has an 82nd combat patch or 173rd combat patch and he doesn't have an advanced rating, that guy probably is not the airborne leader that he tries to make himself out to be. That's the first part, right? Because I hit the pinnacle of a mediocre career, but I still had 65 jumps and, was current as a jump master until I walked across the stage. So if you're not like trying to live that life, don't pretend to be that person, because it ruins your credibility. And the soldiers will never say anything, but they know, like, oh yeah, that's the guy that went and begged, the brigade task force commander to write him a letter of assignment so he could wear a 173rd patch. And I'm not saying who that person was, but that actually happened when I went to Afghanistan on my MIT team. The other part of it is like, look, I don't care who you are. And there's, unique situations because everybody's transition story is different. But if I meet a master sergeant with 24 years of service and his highest award is an RCOM, that's a head scratcher, because you can get a PFC that gets an RCOM for staying alive, being the only guy that survives at JRTC rotation when the rest of his company gets rolled up. And we've all seen that and experienced it. So, don't tell on yourself, right? I tell everybody like how cool you want your shadow box to be. So go out and do the fun stuff that builds you a cool ass shadow box. So when other veterans come into your office and they look at it like, wow, that dude's like legit badass. And if you weren't, that's okay. We're not going to judge you off of that. We appreciate your service, but don't tell on yourself, because we can smell our own, like the guys you can walk into a room and if somebody's talking crap, you're gonna be like, something's not right about that dude,
Right.
And we all can tell as veterans, and like, depending upon how egregious it is how much we intervene. And when you're on the public stage, unfortunately, we have a lot of people that have tried to parlay their veteran status into wealth, money, power, and contributions to their political campaigns. And that's unfortunate. That shows that there's a giant hole inside of them, that they're really not truly proud of their service because they can't talk about it honestly, right? If you're truly proud of your service, like, you can talk about it honestly. Yeah, I hit the pinnacle of a mediocre career. I'm cool with that, but I got a badass shadow box and I have people to tell the story for me, because I would like to think that I did it right while I was in the uniform.
Yeah, and Sean on the chat thread says,
Sean says, should I even be here? I was just a dumbass tanker. We like you 19 kilos too, bro. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, like, wait, God forbid.
We love everybody.
It's one of those things like the Navy, it's tankers are like the Army's like Navy, where it's like you don't realize how much power a tank has, right? And it's like, God forbid an enemy wants to fuck around with one of our 19 kilos, right? Like, they are about to do some serious damage to you, and all I got to do is press a button now. It's like, hey, lays that guy, press that button, he's dead. Like, see you later.
Hey, ask a light infantryman how much he likes tanks when he's getting shot at by an enemy
Damn right.
with a 30 millimeter gun, and now they need that main gun round or that coax or something to save their ass. I will tell you, Sean, in Operation Just Cause, I did the combat jump there. I was a Sheridan tanker. Now, legacy tank and everything, but in the middle of the barrios in Panama City, when we were getting shot at by V300s, I had infantrymen from the 82nd hugging my road wheels on my left and right. Okay, in order for me to move up to put effective fire on them, I had to say, "Hey, assholes, get the fuck out of the way, or I'm going to run you over." Okay, because I need to go up here and neutralize this threat and everything. So be proud, brother.
Yep.
Damn, Operation Just Cause, huh? 89, December 20th. Do I still know my 82nd history? Yeah.
Yeah, you passed the board. You passed the board.
I passed the board, yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
All right, before I introduce these Air Force guys, what do you got on Stolen Valor? Probably pretty easy, because there's always that joke where, the Green Berets are, on an Air Force base, and they're trying to tell all the girls that they're pilots, and the girls don't give a shit. And so they find some pilots, and they say, "Hey, how do you pick up girls here?" And it's like, we tell them that we're Green Berets. It's like, shit. So it's like, so what do you what's the Air Force Stolen Valor like? What do you guys got going on?
I don't think we have as much of that issues with Stolen Valor, because the Air Force, other than special tactics, combat control, pararescue, and the fighter pilots, most people understand their role, I think, is support the warfighter. So I don't think that it's as big a deal than the Air Force, because most people join the Air Force aren't joining to do the hula stuff. They're joining for a job and a career and a skill maybe they can use when they get out. That's just my perspective. I don't think it was too big of a deal. Maybe, Ram, you got a different thought on it, because you were one of the support guys that supported the guys on the Hill a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, right? Especially when you're walking around and you hear someone, right? So I did 117 maintenance, right? So when I heard a story and I'm walking by someone, some guy's like, "Yeah, I got a flight on a 117." "Oh, you got a flight on a 117?" He's like, "Yeah." Well, if anybody knows a 117, it's a fucking one-seater, right? So I listened to this guy's story. I'm like, that's fucking phenomenal. And I tell him, I was like, "Hey, I did maintenance on the 117. He looks at me. I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "So that was fucking full of bullshit, bro." And we're in a freaking navigator squadron. So yeah, it's there, right? So you get those guys that do that. Why? I have no idea, right? It's just done. Be happy what you did. He served a great career, even if he was admin support. Shit, you killed paper for a living. Say you killed paper, but you did something. Shit.
Yeah, and before we get into the next segment, I'll end it with this, where it's like, you know, if the VP nominee comes out right now and says, "Hey, I was fucked up for doing that," it would be forgotten about in a week.
100%.
In a week.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, but it's like, I mean, so disgusting. But anyways, let's talk about something a little bit more positive. All right, a couple days ago, we had the Air Force birthday, and so we brought some Air Force guys on because we all know the truth. All right, we're gonna play the video. Out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, turn it off, Chris. What are you doing? So now this is what I had my joke, and I'm backfeeding now. Chris, put me back up.
Yeah, you're backfeeding. There was no audio to the video.
No, my
What's going on, Chris?
Up fingers back there. All right, here we go. So the big Earl's got his jokes. All right, so it's the Air Force birthday. We're happy for him that they divorced the Army. Right, they didn't want to be part of the cool guys anymore, so they did the
Army
little
Air
thing.
Corps, huh?
Army, yeah, they went over here, but that was a pretty cool video. But like Stolen Valor, all right, we all know what Air Force dudes really look like. So Chris, put that picture up. There it is. There's your MQ-9 pilot right there. Okay, that's your guy. That fat guy with a beard and a Hawaii shirt. All right, we get that's what Air Force.
Hey, you failed to show the Air Force guy that was on the ground in that video, man. You only chose the fat guy wearing a hula shirt from Hawaii.
We all know that's the real Air Force. But well, hey guys, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour. It's awesome to have the Air Force dudes on there, especially a legacy like Jeff. And like I said, we got some of your Granada Raiders on here with you. So Jeff, introduce yourself and tell us some cool stuff about the Air Force and what you did.
Yeah, started out as an enlisted guy for 9 years, and when I enlisted for TACP, so ended up working on the ground with the Army. Volunteered to do that, by the way, and my first assignment was with the Rangers. Years later, I got my commission and then went into the Special Tactics community. So I've kind of been an Army or an Air Force infantry guy most of my career until my last 6 years when I did the education and training world. The whole JTAC mission back when I did it was ETAC, and then as an officer, you don't do it as much as the enlisted guys do, and shouldn't, to be candid. Those guys are with the company level, battalion level operation. So had a good long career, really enjoyed it. The Air Force exists to support the guy on the ground, whether it's the mobility of aircraft delivering stuff to an airfield or airdrop, or fighter guys putting warheads on foreheads. So that's my background. Thoroughly enjoyed my time, but the most significant time of my career was my 2 tours of the 2nd Ranger Battalion that really solidified in me what warfighting was about at the tactical level.
Yeah, if you don't mind, get in. Ram was saying you got the Forrest Gump wound.
Yeah. So we'd been on the ground about 1,300 that morning. So we got on the ground about 05:30. Supposed to jump in the dark, of course, but ended up getting delayed for whatever reasons. Ended up jumping daylight. There's a little bit of activity on the airfield, caught a little bit of rounds coming at us. But later in the afternoon, we got counterattacked by BTR-60s at the end of the runway. Siak, I don't know if you were there. Were you down there when that happened at that end of the runway?
No, I'm not a Urgent Fury vet. I'm a Just Cause vet in Panama.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. So at the end of the runway, we get counterattacked. With BTR 60s. Didn't even know they were on the island. That's how bad the intel was. In fact, we're using tourist maps that we put a grid system over so we could call in airstrikes and coordinate fires. So we're at the end of the runway. C-141 has landed and back taxied. So it's up right at the end of the runway, big hill. Down below the hill is the True Blue compound where the medical students were. We just finished clearing those buildings, and we're back up, got the medical students out, and we're back up on top of the runway. And it was loud as hell. And I'm on top of the hill with 5 or 6 Rangers and a gun jeep, and my radio had shit the bed on me. So I'm trying to get this thing working. And all of a sudden, I felt like I was by myself. It was really loud, and I looked, and there was 5 Rangers or 6 Rangers running down the hill away from me. I was like, why are they running away? And then I heard the snap of the machine guns from the BTR 60 shooting. I went, I know what they're doing. So I take off, get down to the hill, find some defilade, and there's a Delta guy there. I go, well, shit, if this rock's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And then Sergeant Major Veloz comes running by, and he sees me, goes, hey, Sergeant Stahl, where's your radio? And I had to shyly go, it's up there. He goes, don't you think we need that about now? So I had to run back up the hill, get my radio, and get the gunship overhead. It was daylight, but we still had the gunship overhead because the air-to-air threat or ground-to-air threat wasn't significant at all. And we proceeded to take out the BTR 60s. The 90-millimeter gunners got 2, and we got 1 with the gunship. We took out the lead one so they couldn't keep coming up the hill. And so I tell people I got the Bronze Star with Valor for being a dumbass.
Oh, hey, thanks for sharing it. That's freaking awesome. Yeah. Don't you think we need that radio? Like right about now? I think probably be a good idea.
You know, I got a chance to talk to Sergeant Major and even the battalion commander at the end of that fight, because, you know, 83 was 7-8 years from Vietnam. And I asked, so how does this firefight we just did compared to Vietnam? And, you know, 90% of the dudes that were in that fight at the time, it's their first combat experience, just like it was for me. And the battalion commander, Colonel Hagler, says, hey, only difference is in Vietnam, we'd take the hill and then we'd give it up. Here, we're taking it and we're keeping it. And I thought, man, that was inspirational. And then he pulls out his coin and he coin checks us right after the fight. I thought, what in the hell are we doing? We just got out of a fight. And I realized he was decompressing us from that high tension that we were in for about 30 or 40 minutes.
Wow, yeah, that's a phenomenal story. Wow. Hold on the coin. What do you guys?
By the way, I'm heading up to Washington State here in 2 weeks for the 50th anniversary of the 2nd Battalion forming. So it's going to be cool to see Colonel Hagner and some of the other guys that are still kicking.
That's awesome. That's great. What do you guys got on that, huh? Anything? Or should we go over to the death of the Air Force, the enlisted guy, right? The nobody who they turn the wrenches.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to add on that Thursday I did PT with 2nd Ranger Battalion. I live up here right outside JBLM, and I did PT with the Rangers the other day, and it was so refreshing. Now, they smoke my bags, but they get 0 free beer for smoking a 60-year-old retired 100% disabled veteran, all right? But it was so refreshing to see that some things and some organizations haven't succumbed to any kind of moral panic because of some of the things that are happening in society. The non-commissioned officers and officers that I were around there are still lethal, ready, fit, and they don't give a shit what the rest of the world thinks of them. They are going to do forced entry, and they're going to kick the shit out of anybody and everybody that's in their way on behalf of freedom. So it was really a refreshing morning, even though I got my bag smoked.
Neat. Ugh.
Well, Ram, talk a little bit about what the Air Force. What did you do for it?
Yeah,
what did they do for you?
Nothing as cool as Jeff, man. All I was a freaking F-16, F-17 maintenance guy. And then I lost my peripheral vision and then had to do a couple of readiness positions. But I got tied up with the Army when think about, was it 2003 when the Army said they couldn't handle all their deployments, and they said, hey, Air Force, we want you to do it for us. So I found myself attached to a whole bunch of infantry battalions. So the 42nd, I think it was the 137, and a couple other ones out of New York. So I did add a whole bunch of infantry battalions with them, but not any cool stories like Jeff had at all, right? So I went to Iraq, went to Afghanistan, did the Kuwait thing. Matter of fact, I just did the Kuwait thing in 2020 right before I retired, which was fun. But nothing is all as cool as what Jeff has. No cool stories like that, other than watching Rangers fly out the back of the C-17, which is always cool, right? So you're jumping out a perfectly good airplane, which is I still don't understand it, but you guys do it all the time, and I think it's funny.
No, I'd always laugh at the loadmaster and stuff like that, to where, you know, the plane's just rocking, you know, and like they're like 2-knot winds. You're fucking full of shit. Like, I can tell you right now. He's like, that's from the ground, and I'm like, the guy on the ground's sitting in his Humvee right now, and the colonel said we're all pay her, so we're all jumping, right? So it's like, son of a bitch. But hey, Ram, talk a little bit about why you joined the Air Force, and do a little recruitment video for him.
Yeah. So why I joined the Air Force, long story. So we'll make it short real quick. It was really to pay homage to my late cousin. It was his idea that we both go in as firefighters. To be honest, I was selling drugs. When I say I was selling drugs, I was a no kidding pharmacy technician working at Walgreens. So when he when he passed, I had to do it for him, right? So I was normally just going to do 4 years and get out. I tried to do the EOD route, washed out of that after a year, couldn't do it, there's reasons why you wash out of schools. And then I crossed over to avionics, and then doing avionics, it was just phenomenal, right? And then being operational was a little bit different than being a support side of it, right? So you have that cohesiveness, that brotherhood all together, right? So not knowing what the Rangers are, but when you're in a maintenance squadron, you're all together 24/7 regardless, right? So you're getting your shit kicked in nonstop, but it's when you go to war what happens and how we come together. Because unlike the Army, we all deploy as your battalion, as your group. When the Air Force deploys, we take people from different bases and we throw them together, right? And we build our synergies together, and that's where the magic happens, man. So in 2003, when we were there, when we started at Jabber, that's what it was. It was different folks from different bases flying F-16s and blowing shit up. So if you want to blow shit up and watch it go bang, you're in the right team.
Nice. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that as well. And yeah, I had my little fun on Eglin Air Force Base when I was in RI down in Florida. Got to hang out and see how you guys did it on the other side. You know, houses on the water. You know, yeah. I just posted a picture of like halftime. I went out and caught a redfish because I was living on by Ben's awesome. Lane, Ben's Marina. Yeah. So like.
Let me comment on that 77th Air Force birthday video. I thought it was really cool. 10 or 15 years ago, Special Tactics, we were having a hell of a time recruiting enough combat controllers. We needed JTACs like never before because of the fight we were in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I kept telling them, guys, if you ever watched a Navy commercial, the Navy commercials, no matter what it is, will always have SEAL teams in it. Jumping out of airplanes, jumping into the water, diving and all that stuff. Said the Air Force has got to start putting Special Tactics guys, free fall parachuting with a radio and a helmet and body armor all and looking cool to help our recruiting effort. So I thought it was pretty cool to see that the Air Force has finally started listening and is using Special Tactics, or at least advertising it in their videos, saying, hey, we have a cool ground mission as well. But the way the SEALs look at it, hey, we're only going to get 100, maybe 200 guys that are going to qualify, but we're going to get a whole lot of people that join the Navy to be SEALs. They're never going to make it through. They're going to have other specialties. So the Air Force finally taking it. So I just thought it was pretty cool to see that on that video.
Yeah, and all of us know this who've deployed to the GWAT, you know, the old AFN commercials, right? And I fuck with Ram about this all the time. So Ram and I work doing some of the suicide prevention stuff together. And I'm like, you remember that shit? Like where it's like the combat weatherman commercial on AFN where they're all like super tactical and they're taking knees, right? And all of a sudden they blow up this giant red pieball. It's like what's the point of sneaking around? You're putting this big ass fucking balloon up in here. So it's like,
that's where they're at.
That's where I think they're right below that thing. That's where they are. Like, so. No, but you're right about that for sure. Like, you got to show people, like, something cool to go do. And then again, if you don't make it, just like, I didn't make special forces. I was a 2040 non-select, and it's like, it is what it is.
Well, we're competing with all the other services. The same guy we're trying to get is the same guy that's going to the Rangers, Special Forces, the SEAL teams, and now MARSOC. So we're all competing for these same dudes. And if no one knows the Air Force has it, you're never going to get them.
Good point. Good point. All right. Anybody got anything else before I do the AAR?
Yeah, I just got one quick point, and I'll tip the cap to the JTACs, because when I went to Afghanistan in 2012, we put those guys through some work. We got 465,000 pounds of ordnance off the rails in 9 months. And those guys were some hardworking gentlemen, and they had me on speed dial because I was probably the least fearful field grade in the TOC. So anytime there was a tick, they would call old Black Line 5, and we would lay the whooping all over RC East. And so again, it's jointness. And for those of you guys that are thinking about joining the Army, just think about everything that you're going to do from here on out is purple. It's probably going to be joint and combined. So get to know your Air Force brethren and your Marine Corps brothers and sisters, because they're gonna help you out when you're in a jam, and they bring some capabilities that the Army certainly does not have. So be aware of that and add them to your toolbox. And I'll stop there.
I like it. That's a recruiting video right there. That's good.
All right. CX, our major, anything to add?
No, I just to piggyback on that, service identity is important. People join to be an airman, be proud to be an airman, soldier, Marine, whatever. But in the end, we're joint and multinational war fighters. So you are going to be around your other services. You're going to be joint. You're going to be combined, as he was describing and everything. So the military is still an adventure. And if young people are looking for that adventure, this is something they ought to get after, because all of us here wouldn't be where we're at today if it wasn't for our careers in the military.
Spot on.
True statement.
Yep.
And I do have to throw some shade at the SEAC again, because we just had an Air Force one. He just left the seat. And now we got this Marine one. Have you seen that fucking guy? Like, that
I know Troy Black very well.
That dude is massive. It was like, yeah, the Marines are like, you know what? We're going to put something in there that's just jacked. Like, it's a big, huge dude. Like he would scare me. Like, I don't think I'd wear the what's a SEAC around him. Like, I'm gonna rip my head off. But no, quick little hot wash. We covered what's going on with terrorism and the difference, I guess, between virtue signaling and being a big baby and taking a stand on something. And we've already made it very, very clear on Veteran Trash Talk that we will not put up with or listen to anybody who tries to somehow justify a group like Hamas or Hezbollah. Like, that's why we got that shirt, fuck Hamas, right? And, just like the Sergeant Major said, peace through strength. Go ahead and, you got Iran proxies screwing around. Let's drop 50-something tomahawks on them. Maybe they'll stop. All right. But, yeah, without getting too political, which we don't really want to do. It's a playbook that's been put in play before, and we're seeing it again. And it's not working again. And then we have, we are a nation of privileged kids. And I actually take some pride in that. I take pride in making sure my kids have a better time than I had, doing my best in that. However, you still got to teach your kids some responsibility, some honor, take pride and ownership in this country. So super cool with that. And then we covered the Air Force birthday, the day those cowards left the Army. It was 77 years ago. The Army Air Corps. All right, like I said, all the cool pilot movies are Navy, right? And the only thing they ever made for the Air Force was Iron Eagle, which was probably the best solid movie. Chappie and Doug Masters, right? So like,
you just lost your oil spilled.
Yeah, you got and then you got Russell Crowe, the fat drone pilot. All right, so that's all you guys got. You got a high school kid. You got a high school kid who's an ace, and Doug Masters, and then the fat Russell Crowe. But hey, honor to have you on here, Jeff, and thank you for everything you've done. And I'm glad that a couple of the Rangers from Grenada were able to come on here and see and hear your story. I'm sure they're chuckling and laughing about it right now. And then Ram, like always, the first time Ram was on our show, he was on the Fight Show, and I label him as the homeless Air Force veteran that I picked up on the side of the street in Nebraska. And we did some.
Yeah, he lured me in with bananas and peanut butter. It was weird.
And we talked some UFC fights, both great Americans. And then, of course, the Angry Colonel, he has this As for Football podcast that he does, Ring Knocker Radio, we call it. So go to the YouTube channels, go to Leader Talk and subscribe to Sergeant Major Troxels, and then go to ours and you'll get the link to As for Football. Or go to asforfootball.com.
Yeah, it's asforfootball.com.
Asforfootball.com and go subscribe to that. Again, we don't care how many podcasts are out there. We subscribe to as many veteran podcasts as we can. And get the messages out. So yeah, As for Football, get your college football updates. And every once in a while they wrangle in VTT's Trigger Joe on the show. And he's our college football expert on the enlisted side. So whenever he's on, we call it the 2 O's and the NCO. Talk college football. So yeah, go get your Ring Knocker Radio on. And other than that, Dave, close us out.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming on. Great show. If you tuned in late, go to VeteranTrashTalk.com. That has the links to everything. Where you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and then of course YouTube, which we are shadow banned. So go over there, give us a subscribe, give us a like, help us, get pushed through the algorithms a little bit more. You can get this awesome merch at shop.veterantrashtalk.com. I am wearing the Fuck Hamas shirt. Aim high over there. Nick, you're not wearing a Veteran Trash Talk shirt today. Shame on you.
No, I got to go to a cross-country meet, Hart High School.
Yeah. And we'll catch everybody next Saturday. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Thanks a lot.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What's up, Gruntworks Nation? How do you hire the right financial advisor? In this video, that's going to be somewhere up here when they put the QR code up there. Just scan it or go to our YouTube channel, all right, and you'll be able to download it. In that video, questions are asked and answered about finding the right financial advisor for you and your loved ones. What license do they hold? The crucial factor can provide you with a sense of security and confidence in your financial advisor. What is their experience? See if they have any written complaints in the disclosures. Why is it in your best interest to work with a fiduciary? This role is crucial as it ensures that your advisor working in your best interest, fostering trust and transparency in the advisor-client relationship. Understanding the advisor's process for developing your financial plan is also important. Do they conduct a thorough financial assessment, discuss your goals, and then create a personal